Welcome to the Metal Detecting Podcast, brought to you by XP Metal Detectors. We're digging the plugs and pinpointing the topics you want to hear. Now here's your hosts, Dave Kimball and Grant Hansen.
This show is brought to you by XP Metal Detectors. XP Metal Detectors is a high-end, innovative metal detector company with great machines and great pinpointers. For more information, go to xpmetaldetectors.com. For a dealer near you, try a Google search or go to xpdeus-usa.com. Hello and welcome to the Metal Detecting Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Kimball, coming to you from Central Oklahoma, and I'm joined once again by my co-host, Grant Hansen, coming to you from New Jersey. How you doing, Grant?
I am doing well. How's it going with you, Dave?
I'm doing pretty good. It's getting chilly here the last couple of days. How's the weather over there?
Yeah, it was about 35 degrees, going down to 25 tonight. So, winter's definitely coming in.
Yeah, in case I haven't mentioned this before, but I do not like the cold, so I will say that every time.
Yeah, I don't either. And I saw Pete Sorrell posted a live video earlier. He was out and it was snowing up in upstate New York where he's at, but they're braving it and they're getting out there.
Yeah, the ground's going to start getting frozen here pretty soon, huh?
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, I've been out there where I've chipped away and got through frozen ground. Sometimes when you get through the first half inch or inch, it gets softer, but it really adds a lot of physicality to the day out there, and it's just freezing. So you are definitely one of the busiest people I know, with your family and work, and you're actually going to school full time. I saw a video recently that you built a little robot and it had to get around a track. What was that like?
Oh, yeah, that was pretty fun. Yeah, it was one of the class. It was a pre-capstone project that we had to do and for engineering. And basically it was we had to build a robot that autonomously went around a track and avoided the walls and had to be powered by a windmill. And so we had 15 minutes with a fan to charge the battery, and then we had to let it run. And ours, it was all right, but the battery was so weak that around there that it just wasn't working right, and it running into a lot of walls. But we were just too busy to really put a lot of time and effort into it over the reports that we had to write and other classes and everything else. But it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, for someone like me who, if you were to give me a remote control car out of the box that I had to minorly assemble, I'd probably have a difficult time with it. So knowing you built that thing from scratch and that it was autonomous, it's really impressive.
Yeah, it wasn't that hard. It was fun though.
That's good. Well, maybe next time you can build something like bigger and you can sit in it and you'll have your own autonomous car.
All right. Yeah. The hardest part was the programming. I mean, that is, especially it takes time to do it. And if you don't have time to learn it all and get it all to the point, then it's just to the point where that's good enough, and that's how that was. It was good enough.
Yeah. I can imagine.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about those Colonial Coppers and that half real that you found? That is awesome.
Yeah, that was a crazy, crazy day. I mean, I found coppers before, but, never in such quantity in one hunt and such a variety. I was out with my friend James and we hit a field that was maybe a half acre in size. And we've hit it a couple of times before, and it's produced really well. I got a lot of stuff out of there from way back even into the 1600s. But we didn't have high expectations because we pounded it pretty hard. And when we got there were some corn stalks that were kind of pretty high, so we had to weed through that. And about, 20 minutes in, James found King George the second copper. So, that was kind of like a good sign. And then I was just weeding around, looking for stuff, pulling up shotgun shells. And then finally I hit a 1753 Hibernia halfpenny, which was my first Hibernia. So I was really, really excited with that.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. And then, the field just it wasn't producing after that. So we went over to another property that we've gone to before. But, we certainly didn't exhaust that property because it was probably around 100 acres and we were just focusing on little different areas. So when we got there, we headed straight for an area that was freshly plowed. But man, it just yielded can slaw after can slaw, and the tones just sounded so beautiful. And we were just getting frustrated, It was just come on. We knew we were in an old area, but, we were just getting modern garbage. And there was no signs of anything else, like no old brick, old pottery. So we decided to move on to another spot. And I was just wandering around and I saw a pretty big chunk of pottery. And I was like, all right, here's something. Let me focus on this spot. And I did. And then really quickly, I found another Colonial Copper. And it turned out to be my second ever New Jersey copper coin. And, being from New Jersey, and that was, 2 years ago, the top of my bucket list, I was, over the moon that I found another one.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then 20 feet away, a few minutes later, I found my third New Jersey copper ever.
Oh, wow.
It's just like, And it was funny because, with the Deus, you can turn the speaker on, and I usually put it on to film so people can hear the tone. And then, sometimes I'd forget to turn it off, and I was just going around and, the high signal would go off, and James would be about, 100 feet from me and look, he's like, do you have another one? I don't know. Got to dig it up. And then I wound up digging up a King George II halfpenny. And then after that, I found a 1783 half real. And then I ended the day with one more, which was actually a large cent. All the coppers are pretty beat up, but I was able to at least identify all of them.
That is cool. That is really awesome. All of those are on my bucket list.
Oh, you got to come out to the East Coast, you never know. There's no guarantees, especially when you're on some properties where you just got to find the hot spot. And I'll tell you, I've never found a hot spot like that before. So I hope it's not a one-time thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a buddy of mine who found a half real at the location I was talking about. I went to hunting. It was a French trading post, and they had Indians posted all around there. So it was like, it had I found a lot of the metal jinglers and arrow tips and tools and stuff like that all around there. And buddy of mine, he found a half real over in there. But I asked him, and he's using a Deus, and I asked him, I said, what'd it ring up as? And he said, I don't know, because I was messing around with the Deus and I put it in pinpointer mode, and as I was walking, it went off, and then I dug it up and it was a half real.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's pretty lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. Yeah, so today we're talking to Thomas Barnes, and speaking about Indian arrowheads, he does a lot of collection. He does a lot of hunting for Indian arrowheads. He also makes them by flint knapping, and he also does a lot of fossil stuff. So he's a pretty interesting guy to talk to.
Yeah, I'm excited to speak with him because when it comes to treasure hunting, I'm primarily metal detecting. So to talk to somebody like him, like we talked to Matt Jones last week, he does, fossil hunting, Native American hunting, metal detecting, gold prospecting. He's a real life adventurer. He does it all.
Yes, and he also has his own show, doesn't he? He used to.
He does, and I know he's filming new episodes now, and I don't know that they're out yet, but just keep your ears open for Evolved Outdoor Expeditions. They've got a website, so if you go to evolvedoutdoorexpeditions.com, you can, stay tuned for when the videos start. But I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And if everybody wants to see Grant Hansen's awesome hunt that he did, check him out on YouTube, on XP Team USA on YouTube, and you can find Grant Hansen's video of him finding these awesome coppers and half real, and just makes you jealous.
Well, hopefully it'll also make you inspired. But check it out. Leave a comment, like it, share it. We spend a lot of time on these videos. We really want to just get out and hunt and find some cool stuff, but capturing it and making sure the quality is good, it does take effort. So, any support we can get, it's very much appreciated.
Yes, that's right. See, a lot of people like to watch these videos, but our videos are high quality, and we have a standard that we follow making our videos, and we have top producers working on them and putting them together. So ours are pretty good videos to watch. So they're good to get into. So don't forget to subscribe to XP Team USA.
Yeah, appreciate that.
All right, well, we'll be back. We'll talk with Thomas Barnes.
This segment is brought to you by Omega Mill Pouches, the official digging pouch of XP Team USA. If you're looking for a rugged, hunt-tested, washable pouch, look no further than Omega Mill. Get on eBay and search Omega Mill Pouches. That's OMEGAMILL.
Our guest tonight is a true explorer and expedition expert. He's a complete package when it comes to treasure hunting of all types. He created Evolved Outdoor Expeditions, and be on lookout for his new shows. Hailing from North Carolina, we'd like to welcome Thomas Barnes. Welcome to the show, Thomas.
Thank you. Good to be on here.
Yeah, welcome to the show. We're excited to speak with you tonight and learn all about your various expeditions when it comes to treasure hunting. And while this is called the Metal Detecting Podcast, and we do and will talk about metal detecting, you're also known for finding amazing fossils and Native American artifacts. Is it right that you started treasure hunting as a young child, walking the fields with your dad?
Oh, yeah. Started at a very young age, probably actually riding around in the truck with them first before I could even walk. And as soon as I could walk, I was walking in the fields, looking things with them, and, would find a lot of artifacts. Of course, as I got older, I started getting more into it and started doing a lot more research. In fact, I believe when I was in high school, I did an essay on the local Native Americans that were here around in our county. So I've been doing it for a good while.
Wow. So did you simply start by looking for arrow points and then you grew from there?
Yeah, I mean, you would find your basic arrowheads, what we call arrowheads. And then as I got more self-educated with a lot of this stuff and talked to a lot of the old timers and people that have been doing it, then I started learning more about what a lot of these tools, stone tools, were and how they were used. And that really, kind of helped push it to the next level. There's a lot of people look at a point or a stone point and they think it's just an arrowhead, but it's a lot of times, I have to break it down to them at a show and show them, if you were putting something that size on the end of a reed that you were going to shoot, it would make your arrow drop really fast. And I try to explain to them, that point that you got is not an arrowhead, it's actually a spear point. It was used for something a lot bigger.
Wow. And what are some of the key indicators to knowing if a rock is an artifact or if it's just a rock?
That's a good question. There are still things you can find that you kind of leave a little bit to your imagination, maybe how it fits in your hand. There's certain things that they fit in your hand and you can kind of relate it to at that time when they were using it and say, hey, was this a tool that they used? Now, some things, there are small rocks you can look at that you would not think that they would have used and they would have. Then other stone tools you can find, you can tell that they've really been worked. They're polished down. Their shapes you can tell are not natural. As far as arrowheads and
I've only found one point artifact to date. They're out there. It's just a matter of am I going to walk over it and see it with my eyes?
Yeah. One of the big things that I try to teach a lot of folks about, as far as if you want to get out and look for them for yourself, is certain places you look in certain fields. Let's say that you're out metal detecting and you come across certain things in the field, or you find a point. You got to think thousands of years have gone by and those guys were hunting. So you might find an arrowhead that was just shot at a deer or an animal. And that was just a random arrowhead because they were hunting. But there's a difference between that and finding a site where they actually had arrowheads, spear points, scrapers, pottery, all the things that they needed to live in a village.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. So you don't just find artifacts, but you also make them. Can you explain what flint knapping is to our listeners and what the process is like?
Yeah, flint knapping is basically the flint is what a lot of them used. But what it's doing is actually taking a rock and hitting another rock and taking pieces away from that and making a stone tool out of it. It's just like you hear about people doing bushcraft or you hear about primitive skills. Well, this was primitive living. This is what they did. There's a difference between having a regular knife in your hand and going out and doing something in the woods and making stuff versus picking up two stones, breaking them to make a tool, to make more tools. But with flint knapping, basically I take a piece of rock, I kind of read that rock. It's kind of an art in a way, but I take flake scars away from it. I reduce the material down, and then I work it and use percussion or indirect percussion flakes and make a point or a knife blade. I do a lot of knife blades.
Oh yeah, I've seen the Facebook group page, the Flint Knappers, and I can see a few guys I've seen them before, like get their finger while they're doing that, and that looks pretty bad, pretty dangerous.
Yeah, it happens, especially if you're working a lot of glass or obsidian. And I used to practice a lot on the glass because it's easy to come by. And but I've taken Mountain Dew bottles, especially the old bottles or the old brown beer bottles, and you can take the bottoms of those because they're really thick, and those are good to make points out of.
Oh, interesting. And you actually have a friend who's a master bow maker. It must be pretty cool to make and then get to actually use a primitive weapon.
Yeah, like I said, I've always done a lot of hunting, outdoors, fishing and stuff. But yeah, I've got a good friend named James Parker. He's got a company called Huntworthy Bows, and he makes some. He does bamboo backs. He can do some fiberglass, but he does a lot of traditional bows from Osage orange trees, and he makes everything. He's actually considered a master bowyer. He just makes a lot of stuff, and then you get to go out and shoot them.
So, like metal detecting, there is a flint knapping community where you can trade items that you made or found. From what I understand, there's no money exchange. Is that right? You just keep it as authentic as...
Yeah, we have these things that you go to. It's called nap-ins, and it's people that come from all over, or they may come from that state, and they get together, and, they sit around, and we break rock. We flint nap, and we make points. Sometimes you trade them out right there. Sometimes people will come, and they want you to make them something. But usually, a lot of times on a certain night, usually on, say, a Saturday night, if it's a weekend, they lay down a thing called a trade blanket. There's no money exchanged, and it's only things that you have made. So somebody puts it out on the blanket and then says, okay, here's what I'm offering up for trade. And then it goes around the group in a circle, and they get to present what it is they want to trade for. And if the person accepts it, then you trade and you shake hands.
So how would you know? I mean, could you tell the difference if you saw like an original Indian arrow point from the difference between something that's recently been made by somebody?
Yeah, pretty much I can now. Now, there was a time I could tell you I probably wouldn't have been able to tell, but I will say that you still have to be very careful about it because there are some good people out there that fake it. Just like I'm sure, people fake stuff that they find, I guess Civil War stuff and things, but there's some really creative people out there that can fake them. So you really got to know, especially if you're going to wind up spending a lot of money on a point or something like that.
Yeah. It amazes me too that thousands of years these things come out of the ground, and yes, sometimes they come out broken, but for the most part, the ones I get to see, they're intact and they've survived. It's remarkable.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's always amazing to be out walking around, and find something that long ago, and you pick it up and you're the first hand that it's been in, it's been in your hand for the first time since whoever shot it or dropped it, or whatever happened that many years ago. Yeah,
it's great. So let's switch gears for a minute and over to fossil hunting, which I've always wanted to do. You find stuff like whale bones, megalodon teeth in fresh waters. How did you get started doing that?
Well, when I was younger, there was a place close by on the Sound that they would go in. It was a phosphate mine, and they would get spoils, and people would have them poured in their driveways to drive on, and those things had little shark's teeth, and we'd go out there and look at them. Well, that was kind of the first time that I ever did it. And then fast forward to later, you could float down the local rivers and stuff, and you'd look up on the banks and stuff, and you could find bone, and a lot of that stuff was actually whalebone. And then that led into finding the teeth and other things. And then it just kind of progressed from there.
You're listening to the Metal Detecting Podcast, and we're talking to Thomas Barnes. We'll be back right after this.
Metal Detecting Podcast.
We're talking to Thomas Barnes. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Metal Detecting Podcast, and we're talking to Thomas Barnes. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Metal Detecting Podcast, and we're talking to Thomas Barnes. We'll be back right after this.
This is Michael from XP Metal Detectors Americas. Be sure to check out the new XP ORX metal detector, model starting at $649.
XP has introduced its new ORX machine, a high-end machine at a mid-range price. The ORX has 4 factory preset programs, 2 gold, 2 coins, also 2 user programs. The ORX comes with a high-frequency coil and is compatible with the X35 coils. The ORX is now available in the USA. And we're back with Thomas Barnes. When it comes to Magellan teeth, can you explain how size and type determine the value, and what kind of value do large teeth bring in?
Yeah, of course, everything that we find, like I said, that I'm finding most of my stuff is fresh water. As far as you got megalodon shark teeth, you got makos, you got great white, tigers, hemipristis, which is a snaggletooth shark. But a lot of them have to do with the size, the quality. A megalodon shark's tooth, the rule of thumb, if it's a good, decent tooth, is about $100 an inch. Now, that increases if it, depending on its length. Once they start pushing anywhere from 5 to 6 inches, then they start really going up. And then if the seriations are really nice, the roots, the enamel, the color in it, I mean, they can go for, they can go for a couple grand. Great white teeth, you can get a perfect great white tooth, and it'd be around a 3-inch tooth, and they can go around $1,500. So, it's pretty good demand. And then, like I said, there's a lot of difference between salt water and fresh water. Fresh water, they're preserved a lot better.
Yeah, it's amazing that, again, like the Native American artifacts, that the fossils have survived all these years. It's just, and I mean, they're a lot older than the Native American artifacts.
I've also found some rivers that I dive, I have actually found megalodon shark's teeth that the natives had picked up. They broke the sides off of them and turned it into a blade or like a spear point that they used. So, they saw it as a reliable source for something that they could use and repurpose.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. What is the coolest or most unusual fossil you've unearthed?
The most unusual fossil or something I've ever found, I would probably have to say that I found a mastodon tooth, which is kind of small, like it's a smaller version of a mammoth, and that was pretty significant. I found some nice great white and the megalodons, but I'm always looking something different. Find a big sperm whale vertebrae, they're big, I call them like door stops. Matt was lucky enough to find one of those when I took him out and kind of went with me and found his first megalodon, and I think you can see that in one of his YouTube videos. But that was pretty fortunate to find what he found that day, and it don't happen all the time like that.
Hey, yeah. So you also do gold prospecting and spent a few weeks in Alaska to try different methods from sleuthing, dredging, and metal detecting. What's your most enjoyable process?
Yeah, I spent about a month in Alaska. Started up around Fairbanks and flew in on a private claim and stayed there for a week, and then came back and kind of worked my way all the way down through Anchorage and Kenai Beach, and wound up finishing up at Nome off with the Bering Sea. And we did a little bit of everything. We did panning, we did sluicing, dredging, high banking, and then of course we did metal detecting. And I was actually fortunate enough to find some nuggets that came off a White Earth's gold claim in Nome. That was pretty neat, kind of a highlight thing there. But there's a lot of different ways. Panning it the old time way is always nice, and if you find stuff in there and you kind of see it and you get that gold fever, you hear a lot of people talk about it, and it's like finding silver in a field when you're metal detecting or something.
Right. And how would you say metal detecting for gold is different than metal detecting for relics?
The biggest thing that I noticed is that your number, as far as, I guess, depending on where you're at and metal detecting for gold, is that the purity, I guess, of the gold. If it's a lower purity, then a lot of times your numbers, as far as if you're looking at numbers and stuff, it'll come up a little lower. So it really throws your sound off. It compared to finding, say, a silver dime or a quarter or something, you get that real high sound. A lot of times with the gold, you may not get that. So you kind of, depending on the area you're at, and if you're looking for gold, sometimes if you get even those lower signals like in a 60, you really got to dig it because you just don't ever know.
So we mentioned at the beginning of the show that you run Evolved Outdoors Expeditions, which is a web-based TV show that follows your adventures of all type of treasure hunting. In fact, you've completed 4 seasons of the show previously, and you have new plans. Is that right? Can you tell us a little bit about what the future holds for the show and the channel?
Yeah, well, the actual show itself, it was under a different name. It was Eastern, and that was about 4 seasons we did. It started off as doing, gold and fossil hunting, little artifacts and stuff. And, we did the internet-based TV. It did, pretty good. It was kind of hard to track exactly how many numbers, as far as people watching it. But then I always like doing other things outdoors too, and I kind of wanted to branch out. So that's when Evolved Outdoor Expeditions kind of came about, is that taking everything that I've done over all the years and things that I've liked to do and kind of evolve it all into one big thing, and show everybody all kinds of different ways to get outdoors and spend time and do things, and I understand what it's like to be, in an office position or something, and you only have a weekend off to do something. And a lot of people are, well, what can I do in a weekend? And that's what I wanted to be able to show, is that, you can take and go do this on a weekend, and it's not that hard. So my plans now is I'm finishing up and getting everything done now, but I'll be starting a YouTube channel that'll be under Evolved Outdoor Expeditions, and that's where I'll start be sharing all my new content and everything that I do. It'll be, it'll be a mixture of everything. I'm not going to really have anything back, if I want to do anything considered an expedition, that could be, whether it's going to, a different state and looking gems, we may do that. If we get an opportunity to go dig dinosaur fossils, that's what we're going to do. We're going to bring that and show that, let everybody, kind of be a part of it and see it.
So how does filming your expeditions and doing them at the same time affect your approach to how you're doing it? Because I know from metal detecting, I just want to get out in the field and I want to detect and I want to find stuff. But when you're filming, you got to set up establishing shots. You got to think about camera angles, audio, all that kind of stuff. So how do you manage all that?
It's definitely a lot of work. To take and go from the way we were doing it before, and sometimes you have, say, 2 or 3 people, and you got a person that can maybe film somebody else doing it, to the way I'm going to start doing everything more now on YouTube. And yeah, I'm going to really have to, go to using the GoPros and the action cameras a lot more, and kind of put people like, right there on it as I'm finding things. So it will be a little adjusting versus going from a big camera and things, stuff like that to doing it a different way. But, if I'm with somebody else and get a chance, to maybe film them and can give them some footage and show a different angle, that's what I'm going to try to do. But don't let it fool you. It's a lot of work, and you don't always get to enjoy sometimes. Like if you're out metal detecting and you're trying to film everything, then, if you're limited on a certain amount of time, say you get permission on a 1-day hunt and you're trying to film everything, and you're trying to find good stuff, you just don't have the time sometimes to film everything.
Yep. Yep, I'm with you. Well, we invite all our listeners to log on to evolvedoutdoorexpeditions.com to keep up to date on what you're up to. And even if they want to check out some of the other things on the site, you can buy some of your artifacts that have been turned into jewelry through Evolved Creations. It's a great site. I really recommend everyone check that out. Again, that's evolvedoutdoorexpeditions.com.
Go in there and check it out. We got all kinds of different stuff, and the fossils are up there. As we make things, we put stuff out there. A lot of this stuff is the stuff that we found, and we kind of repurpose it, bring it back, give it a new life, whether it's, a knife that I've made or something. But, we got a lot more stuff coming, so I'm kind of excited, and, help everybody kind of get something out of it.
Yeah, and Thomas, thanks a lot for joining us on our show tonight, and I'm sure our listeners really enjoyed it, and we hope you did too, and we'd like to have you back on again sometime. Maybe when you get your show going and on YouTube, we can promote you again on this.
Yeah, sounds great, and I would love to do it,
Fantastic. Thanks again for joining us. You've inspired me to, think about other types of treasure hunting beyond metal detecting. So hopefully I'll have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things out that people need, can get outdoors and do. But, it's one thing to watch it on TV, but, just know that you can get outside and do it too, and take your kids and your family with you and let everybody enjoy it and make the memories. That's my thing, is making memories.
Great way to put it. Thanks again, and have a great night.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Y'all too.
All right. We'll see you.
Check us out online at xpdeus-usa.com.
you are looking for more information about XP products such as dealers or updates, then check out MetalDetectorsAmericas.com.
Hello, this is Daniel from XP Metal Detectors Americas, and I just wanted to let you know about the XP Metal Detectors Americas.com website, which is full of information on the K-use metal detector and the ORX metal detector. Both are wireless and do all aspects of metal detecting, which is gold prospecting, coins, jewelry, and relics.
All right, we're back, and that was Thomas Barnes. Very interesting guy. Very cool to talk to.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll ever get into some of the stuff he does, but I definitely want to start exploring gold panning. I want to start doing some Native American artifact hunting and sifting. I'm in an area where that stuff can come up. So, he's definitely inspired me to do that.
Yeah, I wish I had a lot more time. I'd like to do some traveling and get around some areas like that. But I know we got some arrowheads and Indian artifacts around here in Oklahoma, and I just need to get out and look for them more.
Yeah, and bring your dog. Didn't he dig up something in your backyard a while back that was pretty significant?
Yeah, that dog's long gone, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
I had a dog dig up my backyard, and it was it looked like some type of Indian artifact. But after looking it up and everything, I believe it is one of those, I can't remember what they're called, but it's like one of them grain mashers that they use in the bowl. It's kind of a cylinder shape, all rounded off, and it's pretty cool.
Well, we'll have to get out there together and make a trip out of it and do some cool hunting like that.
Oh yeah, most definitely, yes. And also, if anybody's interested in sponsoring the podcast here, the Metal Detecting Podcast, please contact me or Grant or Dave Dinatelli with whatever you want to sponsor us with, and we would love to get you on the air as a guest and make a commercial for you.
Yeah, it would be great. And we'd appreciate any support of the show, and hopefully, we do our part in promoting your brand and your business. We'd love to talk to you.
Yes. And also, if you're listening to the podcast, don't forget to give us a like, follow the podcast, and share it if you like on Facebook.
Yep. And tell your friends about it, and tell them, every 2 weeks when we go, when we air a new show, we've got a live chat, and it's very entertaining and enjoyable.
Yes. And also, if you have any suggestions, if you want to hear us talk about this or talk about that or talk to somebody, let us know. Get on Facebook and talk to us and tell us what you would like to hear, who you would like for us to talk to, and we will try to get them on and talk to them and put on a great show for you. We want to give our listeners what they want to hear, so let us know and give us some feedback.
Yeah, that would be great. Your feedback, your input will definitely help drive the direction of our future shows.
All right. Well, we will see everybody, and we will see them on November 29th, and we'll talk to you then.
All right. Take care, everybody.
All right. See you.
Get that permission, put the coil to the soil, and we'll catch you next time right here on the Metal Detecting Podcast. Brought to you by XP Metal Detectors.